to see everybody. A thank you in advance for covering our team. Early stages, I'm sure through the middle, and to wherever it ends. It is early. You know, I found out in preparation that we are the 8th youngest team in college basketball with an average of 19 years in age. And a team like the oldest team in college basketball, Syracuse, has an average of 23 years of age, right? So I didn't know the statistics, but I do feel the youth after, the natural progression of a program is losing a lot of really experienced kids. And so it's been a different vibe. It's been really fun. You know, I'm teaching a lot. We've really changed a lot of things, you know, because the strength of our team is different than it was last year. And so that's been fun. And it feels early because everything's new and our people are learning new things. But we're excited to finally start putting this to work against other people. So happy to answer any questions you all might have. Glad you got a chance to meet them. It's an eclectic, a different, a diverse, interesting, a talented, a hungry group. So I hope you guys enjoy them.
Coach, even with the young team there, you guys still preseason number 11. I know that you don't put too much into things like that this early, but what about this team already that we don't get a chance to see that makes them worthy of that preseason ranking?
Yeah, I feel like what preseason rankings are is they are a testament to the strength of your program, not so much this team, right? And so they haven't really done anything for that, quite honestly. I give a lot of appreciation for the program over the last 5 years to have assumptions. There's assumptions that Carolina's going to be good at basketball, right? And it's our job to make those assumptions correct. And then, of course, the talent that we were able to bring in off the portal and in freshman class. And then people respecting the pieces that we still have and the growth that they've made. But that's what preseason rankings are about, right? And so shout out to the people that have played in this program and have made this program one that people have eyes on.
Courtney, a lot of your guys' showcase games early in the season are either going to be on the road or in neutral sites, Cancun, Vegas, Texas. I know you love playing at Carmichael, but how much are you looking forward to putting this team out there in some big environments and seeing what they got?
Yeah, you look at the progression of a team, right? And so you look at, for example, UCLA. They've got, I think, 7 seniors. Right? It's kind of where we were last year, right? And so they'll lose a ton next year and be in the same conversations about how much they lost and what they're rebuilding and what they're regrouping to. And so what a great test early. We knew if we were only going to bring back 35% of our offense and defensive productivity, that we want to know what the standard is so that we can, by the time we get to ACC play, we have a better understanding of what the standard is. And so you schedule year to year, and of course there's some changes because people's rosters change from what you were hoping for. But why you schedule those type of teams is you know what they have coming back. Usually good players don't leave good programs too much, and it allows you to see the standard. And that's what we need to do. We need to see what is the standard out there. Our first year we went to the Sweet 16. We scrimmaged South Carolina to start the year. I think to see what that was really helpful as we built. And so the non-conference really challenge us. It's not about how many wins Courtney Banghart can stack. It's how good I can get my team to be when the ACC season comes. And I think the only way this particular team can do that is to really see the standard early.
Just going off of that, sorry, I'm like all the way over here, but we were talking to Coach Davis about this yesterday. You see a lot of teams, especially like on the men's side, going away from kind of the in-state, if you will, like preseason exhibition games to these big, like marquee matchups. Obviously, you guys have Central. What is the importance for you in terms of scheduling those games early, particularly against like in-state kind of local competition like that?
Yeah, well, the South Carolina exhibition game was kind of what I said. We wanted to have the standard set early, right? Pace, size, physicality, value of possession, the things that matter, right? That's really hard to simulate in the non-conference, and especially in the preseason. And then the first game of the year is our school day game, and I know one of the initiatives of the university is to continue to engage with the many counties in our state, in terms of service, in terms of educational programming, in terms of all different ways to showcase and to connect to the communities and the counties. And we have, I think, 30 plus counties coming for this Kids Day game. We've got 75 buses that we've got to figure out where to park, right? That's really good for our state, right? And then the more we can play regionally against our state, the more we allow them to be showcased here at Carmichael. If you're going to have somebody here, it might as well be people that are within our system. And then the non regional games are your opportunity to, again, set standard, be the standard, try to aim to play games that are going to help you host. You know, thankfully that's where we are as a program now. It's how can we find a way to host every year so that you have more and more chances to get to the next round, to the next weekend.
Courtney, can you, speaking of the kind of youth on this team, can you talk about what you've seen from Tillia? Can you talk about her game and how's her recovery process been? I know it's been about a year now.
2 years,
2 years, yeah.
She hasn't played in so long. It's crazy. Dynamically athletic, incredibly hungry, a great competitor. You know, Raniah celebrated her. Someone asked her at media day at the ACC, you know, who are you most excited about? And she said Tillia Henderson, and she said, 'cause she's my dog. And that's how I would describe Tillia. She's going to give you everything she's got. You know, when she plays out against South Carolina, it'll be her first game putting a uniform on in quite a while because she had to miss her entire senior year. And so, you know, what I've seen from her is someone who is going to do everything it takes to help our team win. She's an elite athlete. Her numbers and her pre-combine stuff are on par with India Navarre. And India Navarre's in the 1 percentile in terms of the W numbers, the WNBA numbers that are in the combine. And so she's a great athlete, right? And it's the more and more she continues to learn our game and learn our system and learn the pace and speed of college basketball will help. But she's a real bright spot.
Courtney, from talking with a lot of these younger guards, it seems like Laney Grant has kind of taken on this like leadership role with them. She's living with them. And correct me if I'm wrong, she may still be one of the youngest.
The youngest.
The youngest on the team. Yeah.
Yep.
So how is she? Obviously, she came here and played early and had to impact early.
Yeah.
How does she kind of use that blueprint for like a lot of these other freshman guards who probably need to step up in that way?
Yeah, I think the big thing for Laney is she was so young. What she did last year was pretty unprecedented on the women's side. She decided in the spring. We joked about it the day of her state championship game, and then, you know, 48 hours later, she had decided that she was reclassing, right? And usually you reclass down, she reclassed up, and she's still the youngest kid on our team. And so, you know, she introduced herself at our donor event the other night as a freshman, right? So she still feels like she's, you know, one of the younger guys as she is, but she has a whole year of experience, right? And that matters, right? Your chronological age is different than your experience in our program. And so, yeah, she lives with 3 of the freshmen, but she's learned a lot in her 1 year, and she knows what it's like to be a freshman because she just lived it. And she's really taken on the job. Like, her job is to make sure these freshmen can help us in terms of how they concentrate, their competitive character, and how they show their joy.
You guys are moving on from Maria in the front court. So how do you see Blanca stepping up, and what are you expecting from her this season?
Yeah, Maria and Alyssa were 2 of the more dominant interior presences in the country, right? They were a problem. They were A1 and AB and 1A and 1B on the scouting report, right? And although they played on the interior mostly, they were really reliable. So whether it's mid-possession, early possession, or late possession, you can sort of throw it in there. And over a 50% efficiency rate, you were going to get something from that, assist or score. And that now that's not necessarily what we can guarantee and count on right out of the gate, right? They're going to play a little bit differently. Blanca's got great size, but she's more of a face-up presence. You know, she can, of course, because she's so big and so long and all those things, she's definitely a low-post dominant threat as well. But Maria really wasn't able to stretch it out a ton, right? And that's where Blanca's really different. She can do that. I don't think yet any of our posts can play as hard as those 2 played, because again, the standard is they're still figuring out how hard you have to play, right? To do that over 94 feet and then throughout possessions. But, you know, Blanca's really young in terms of her experience in our program, and we're really excited about who she's going to be, and we'll just have to keep hoping that it's sooner rather than later that she's the version that we know she can be.
Following up on that, at the ACC tip-off, you said you were a little bit worried about rebounding.
Yeah.
Since then, have you started to feel a little better about that?
Yeah.
Have you seen in practice?
Yeah, I did. But don't tell them that. So don't listen to these guys. I have them worried about it. 17 rebounds a game went out the door, right? And so we've got to come up with those. And I'm just having them focus on that's their main priority. But yeah, we've been able to secure that much better. But again, don't tell them that. It's all I use my voice strongly in that area.
Estakova's only been here for a couple of months. How's she gotten acclimated?
Yeah.
And do you have any early expectations for her, or is this more so a work in progress?
Yeah. Good question. I mean, you guys, it's really remarkable how she even got here. I'm sure she told you the story. It's really remarkable. It's like something I've never even imagined, And the first time I met her, she had already been on 3 classes at Carolina. She got in at midnight with 1 bag. or very after midnight, I should say. And she had an 8 a.m. math class in a language she doesn't know, right? I don't know math language, much less, but at least I know the English teacher that's teaching me it. And so she has just come so far. You know, these kids that come over from overseas, they're basically pros that do some school, right? And then they come here, and you're actually doing both at a high level. And she's just totally leaned into that. She plays like a true European, and that she's got her versatility and length and ability to play multiple positions is ahead of where her strength and power are. But she's increased her strength numbers by 31% since she's arrived. I mean, she's getting stronger. But the game at this level is really physical. And that's a part of the game that she's going to have to continue to build too. And so, again, without having the opportunity to know yet the standard, because we haven't seen it, it's going to be a work in progress for her.
Just following up on that really quick, I know that you tweeted about like the visa process for her.
Not wild.
Wild. I know that like Coach Wade at NC State has like dealt with similar things with Musa.
Yeah.
Obviously, like Luca and what's going on with him on
Wild.
the inside is
Yeah.
a whole other thing. What was that process like for you guys? I understand
Yeah.
probably like a lot of calls, a lot of
Yeah.
waiting. She said she's waiting for like 2 months. If you could just
Yeah, so
provide
first you watch a
context on
kid in Europe, you watch a kid in FIBA, and you realize she's good enough. That's hard enough. Once you do that, the rest is even harder, right? And that is, we have to get into school. I give Carolina a lot of credit. They're really thoughtful about how to think through how education looks different in other countries, right? You don't have the same flow of classes. You don't have the same, your transcripts don't look the same, right? And here we are trying to fit them in the model of how do you get into Carolina with these parameters. And those parameters aren't the same in other countries, right? So first you have to navigate that, which takes a while, because obviously this is a premier educational institution, and we're not gonna be ashamed of that or move from that. So once you handle that process, you can't even start the visa process until that's done. So then you have to start the visa process, which coming from Russia in this climate, I mean, go for it, right? So we went for it, and she had to go and stay in Serbia for 8 days, live in a hotel by herself, to hope she can get a visa there. Gets the visa. If you fly from Serbia to our country, you can't go through a European Union country, so we had to fly her through Turkey, and then we get her here, and because classes had already started, there was a chance she could have been sent back, because there's a federal law that you have to have been, if you're on a student visa, you have to be here when classes start. So she was in Chicago. She landed at about 9:30, and we all were like, I guess when we find out. She was waiting in line, and then got through, and here she is. So it was pretty wild, and but it starts with do they have the talent? That takes a lot. Then it's talking to their people, because sometimes you need some translators to help with that. Then can you get into school? Then can you get a visa? And then can you actually get here? And all those steps are incredibly painful, take a lot of patience. And I give my team a lot of credit, because here they are living in their suite, and next thing you know, we tell them that in 2 days they're going to have a roommate. You don't tell them before that, because I really didn't believe we'd ever get her visa, right? So I give our team a lot of credit. They went out and went and bought her sheets and towels, and they just welcomed her by making sure she had a place that felt like home to come into.
Yeah, a quick follow-up on that, and I hope this doesn't come across in a harsh sense, but like,
No.
Why is that, all that turmoil and everything worth it from, I got it from her perspective, why is it worth it from your perspective?
Yeah, I think my job is my job is to make sure that I get the very best players and people here. And it would be irresponsible of me to do it in just the high school sector, or just the transfer portal sector, or just the domestic section. So we're going to do our due diligence, and we're going to go international, we're going to go high school, we're going to go portal, we're going to go transfer, we're going to go whatever. And when you watch her play, she does something different than what we have. And we felt like it was an aspect on our team that we were excited about.
What can Carolina fans expect from this team when they come out and see you guys play this season?
Oh man, they're so fun. I would say there's lots of different ways we can play. We've got, when we're healthy, right, which obviously is a work in progress for every team at this point in the season, but we've got some bigs that offer great size and mobility who can really space the floor. So you've got more spacing than we've had in the past, right? We've got more decision-making guards, right? So Raniah really shouldered the load for 35 minutes a game of making decisions with the ball in her hands. And now you've got Elena can do that, and Laney can do that, and Raniah can do that, and Sid can do that from that spot. And then you've got these dynamic wings in India and Nyla Brooks and Tillia, go right on down the line. So we're still figuring out how to put it all together, but that's what's going to be fun, is I think we can play a variety of ways based on who the opponent is and how we have to play. But we're also still learning the urgency and the consistency that we were so spoiled to have in so many 5-year seniors, right? I mean, So hopefully the version that we have in November, and I'm confident, the version that you guys would have seen in July is not the version you're seeing now. The version you would have seen last month is also not the version, right? And so this group has to continue, which they've done so far, is week to week. The version's not the same, right? And then, so you have to just keep coming back to keep seeing the upgraded version.
Courtney,
Coach.
you mentioned Nyla Brooks, and
Yeah.
Amy Grant just talked
The
about
best.
her and
Yeah.
described her as a bundle of joy.
She's the
What's
best.
she like to be around?
The
and
best.
What does she add to this team?
Yeah, she is awesome. She comes every day, gives me a hug, smiles, and says, "I'm here to do two things, Coach: get better and to learn." And she does that every single day, you know. And she laughs at herself. She doesn't let one mistake suffer her confidence. She doesn't let one missed shot make her question herself. She's got an enormous sense of inner confidence, but she's really joyful, and she's allowing things to come to her. You know, as an All-American that is at Carolina, she's all the things you'd want. It's not about her. It's about her getting better to help this team. And she's not wasting time on things that don't matter. Like, oh, did I do everything right today? It's like, let's focus on what you did right, and let's learn the things we didn't do right. You guys are going to be really happy to have her in Carolina Blue.
Yeah, and I talked to Nyla, and she was talking about how when she came here, it felt like you weren't just recruiting her, you're recruiting her whole family. And her family was the one that told her, like, you have to come here. Like, what made you, like, so interested in, like, having her and adding her to the program and, like, showing off Carolina, not just to her, but her whole family?
Yeah, she's the best. Her sisters are the best. Her dad, her mom, they're all. Remember, I called her mom, and I said, you need to make your daughter come to Carolina. Like, it has to, I don't care how you have to do it. But I went up to Bishop Ireton during the contact period, and I actually didn't watch her play basketball. I walked around all of her classes, met all of her teachers, met her president and school head and dean of students, and everybody just feels the way I feel about Nyla Brooks. Everyone was like, oh my God, I love this kid, right? And so I knew she was coming from a great community. Her dad's been a basketball coach for a long time, and is a cheerleader of others. They're just, her sister's hilarious. I mean, they're just a great family, and it just fits what we are here.
Coach, what about, like, big picture question? I feel like we've talked a lot about units and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's important. I'm curious, you know, football is such, like, an economic driver and everything. You see, obviously, you see making a big push in that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, from a university level, what has the university done? Or conference level, what has the ACC done? To invest in you all, allow you guys to continue to be competitive in this space where money's such an increasing factor?
Yeah, it is. And I think it's a work in progress. You know, I think having the hire of Steve Newmark and Bubba staying on in a role that he can make sure the department continues to thrive. I mean, I think they're still figuring all that out, quite honestly. And how we've gotten to where we are is keeping the main thing, right? I have to make sure that the product down there at Carmichael continues to draw attention and continues to draw excitement for our community, that I continue to recruit kids that represent this program the right way. And the rest will work itself out, right? Make yourself, I always say this to my team, make yourself invaluable. Just, it's a good life skill. Make yourself invaluable. And I think it's exactly what this program's done. They've made themselves, we've made ourselves an invaluable asset on this campus. We were on national TV, linear TV, more than any team in the country last year. Any team, right? And so you want to talk about brand value. You know, you turn the TV channel and Carolina women's basketball's all over it, all the time, right? This year we're on ABC, as we know, and ESPN multiple times. And so the brand value that we bring to the university is, again, we're making ourselves invaluable.
What is Kayla's role going to be with this team this year, and how meaningful is it that she has decided to stick around and help you guys out even after having to medically retire?
Yeah, I mean, everyone talks about the outgoing pieces all the time in the transfer portals that's rampant in our game. I think it's undertold how many 5-year seniors have stayed around Carolina, right? I mean, this is a kid that I can't imagine. I haven't had to coach a game without her in 5 years, right? I know she's not playing, but she's every bit as important. She's in our staff meetings. She's actively coaching. She's a really good go-in-between from a basketball standpoint. If there's times where Lisa doesn't understand me, I'll say, Kayla, go make sure she understands what I'm saying, right? She's going to be a great coach someday, and here and anywhere else that she is, you know, she's providing incredible value. It's just not in the way that either one of us would have thought.
And you have multiple players on this team, Sierra, Tillia, who have gone through severe knee injuries, and how valuable is it to have someone who has done that, like Kayla, just be a calming voice during the rehab process?
Yeah, I think it's just relentlessness, right? Like, it's like this, your journey, not everybody's journey looks the same, right? But a little adversity doesn't make you lean out, it's got to make you lean in. And what a better example than Kayla about how she's leaned in. I mean, I was getting some treatment yesterday at about 8 a.m. and she was in there You know, she was in the cold tub working on mobility and stuff, you know, at 8 a.m. So she's just, the rehab process you have to lean into, and she's just a great example that you just don't stop. That is being injured is a time commitment that you have to honor.
This group being fun is something that I heard multiple
Yes.
times, even from you.
They're
How
nuts.
I heard that you get in on the fun a little bit too, but how do you balance it?
Yeah.
Trying to, you know, you want team chemistry, that's always important, but
Yeah.
also you want them to be focused on the goals.
Yeah, I just think anything of importance and value has to have joy. That's just who I am, right? I always, you know, I think the hardest thing about taking over a program when I first got here was that the team hadn't fit my personality yet, because you're not coaching a team that you necessarily had your hands on enough, right? The team now fits my personality, did last year, you know, and so they're not perfect, I'm not perfect, right? But we're going to stand up for each other, right? We're going to stick up for each other. We're going to keep the main thing, and like the joy is part of it. That's just who I am. So I think they've signed on for that, and there's not one of them that I wouldn't want to sit next to on an airplane. That's kind of like your baseline. Like if when they're handing out plane tickets and I'm stuck sitting next to you and I don't like you, I shouldn't recruit you, right? They are, yeah, they're goofy, but they're serious. Their pursuit to this process has been as admirable as it hit on any team I've coached. Now, that doesn't mean they're as good yet as any team I've coached, but their commitment to the process of improvement. You know, Nyla Harris, India Navarre, Raniah Kelly, and Sid Barker are only 4 upperclassmen, and they are not letting one day go away without getting better. It's pretty remarkable because I am hard on them, right? Because I'm the standard right now. There is no other standard that they know. So I am continually promoting what the standard is. And I know they're looking forward to somebody else doing that, which is the opponents that we're about to play.
Coach, if you had to describe your team using one word, what would you say and why?
I would say connected. I mean, they're connected to each other. They're connected to the big picture of our mission. They're connected to the daily steps. And that's not coach speak. Like, this group is connected. Even when I'm mad at them, like, you can't really stay mad at them because you're like, that's not good enough. And then they're totally connected on making that change as a group, right? And then if I get on so-and-so for not doing something, her teammates are ensuring that she does it better the next time too. They're just connected to what we're doing, you know, which gives me great hope on where we'll be over time. And that we'll have the patience and persistence needed to get this team where it needs to be.
Courtney, you talked about the leadership from your upperclassmen.
Mm-hmm.
How has Nyla Harris kind of come in and taken on that role? Obviously a new team for her,
Yeah.
but kind of something she's got to walk into.
Yeah, and she came here for an elevated role. You all want an elevated role until you have the elevated role. It's like everybody wants to be a point guard, and then they come to college and they're like, no, not me, right? So she has a new and elevated role, and it's been really fun to help her understand what that entails. And I always say what we are trying to shift towards is we have a lot of available players. We need to find reliable players, right? She was available, and she was an animal at Louisville, right? I need her to be reliable, right? And so she's been such a joy. She laughs every day. I'm sure any of you who talked to her, you left smiling. How can you not? She's joyful. She's experienced. She's so grateful to be here. And so we have a really good relationship, and it's a lot of pushing right now, but it's not a lot of pulling, right? Like, I can push her. I don't have to pull her. She wants to be as good as I want her to be and as reliable as I want her to be. And then she's one of those that we make sure we share a laugh every now and then.
What did hosting the NCAA tournament last year feel like for you in the program? And what are you telling new players about getting back there?
Yeah. Well, I love that question because it's one of the reasons that I ultimately ended up leaving Princeton, as I felt like I had reached that program to about as far as I could get it, right? I mean, you go 30-0, you finish the season 13th in the country, and you still don't get to host, right? And so to get to do it, I knew how cool it would be, and then you just hope it's as cool as you thought you knew it was going to be. And I liken it to the NCAA tournament. So when I first got here, I was telling our team, guys, the NCAA tournament is the best. Whatever it takes to get there, we got to do that. And then, as you remember, the first tournament that I was actually here for, because the first one was canceled, was the one in San Antonio. So it was the opposite of awesome, right? So I was like, no, I mean it. Like, the next one will be awesome. Get to the next one, right? And so I was hoping it wasn't that. And it was absolutely such a gift to host. I felt like it was the perfect give back to a community that has lifted this program up, stood by it, and showed up for it. And then for us to be able to bring an NCAA tournament right into their laps, and to allow them to be celebrated and allow them to be important and be a part of the tournament. I mean, if you have to try to get excited about that again, then check your heartbeat. Like, that's what I'm driven for now, to see how often can I host. Then you have an easier You have an easier track to the Sweet 16, which means you're 80 minutes from a Final Four, right? And now you're working on 80 minutes. You're not working on 160, right? So it was really amazing. Our community showed out in every way. I mean, I couldn't. People were dying for tickets. They couldn't get them, you know, and that's what you want.
Any more questions for Coach?
Coach, what does the community of Chapel Hill mean to the team?
Yeah, I think this is kind of, they've become a little bit of Carolina's, the community sweethearts, right? They're very engaged in the community. You know, I was talking with a recruit yesterday, and she was asking me about all these people, and none of them were on my team. I was like, why are you asking about those people? And those people, well, on her official visit, she had met a lot of those people that she was asking about, right? That are just in our community or whatnot. You know, so I was telling somebody the other day, it's still a place that if I'm at an exercise class or at the grocery store or at a restaurant, people literally say, thank you for being our coach, right? Like, I feel like people are grateful that I'm here and don't take that time for granted. And that's how they treat our team. You know, they're so grateful that there was a guy who came, one of our donors who's elevated his giving level, and he was talking about how his wife had fallen ill to Alzheimer's. And he said it was really hard because throughout the year, she knew me less and less. He said, and he teared up in our circle, and he said, but she knew who Raniah Kelly was. You know, and that kind of says it all, right? Like, this is a guy that had been married for over 50 years, and his wife had gotten so sick that she didn't know who he was, but she knew who Raniah Kelly was, right? And I think our kids have owned that. They speak when spoken to, and they engage when have given the opportunity. Right, and so that shows itself with how many fans show up for them in Carmichael, and those are the kind of kids we're going to keep recruiting.
And Coach, what has Raniah Kelly's leadership meant to this team? She's talked a lot about her faith. What has that meant to the team?
Yeah.
Overall, like her development as a leader in the
Yeah.
past couple of seasons.
Raniah Kelly is a dog. I know everyone loves watching her play. She's an even better person to have in your locker room. I remember when she was struggling through her freshman year, I showed her some film, and I showed her not what happened in the clip, but the 1 second after the clip for like 16 possessions. And I asked her kind of, what did you notice? And what she could tell is that her body language didn't change. So we had no idea what happened in the possession because I didn't show that part of the possession. And I said, that's who's leading our team. Like, a lot of like, I need you to I want the team to play to your personality, so you got to show your personality, right? And now she has really taken that on and made a huge jump this past year in terms of how she communicates, how she celebrates, how she challenges, how engaged she is. You know what's happening, good or bad now, by just watching her, right? So that was huge. Her faith is very important to her. She and Sid Barker run our weekly Bible studies, you know, which has been really special for our team. And she's just, you can trust her. You know, I think this age group doesn't understand consistency yet. That's just not what they're great at, quite honestly. Raniah is consistent, and I think people can get behind that, myself included. And so her consistency is probably where I would put her as an elite category, and then her ability to adjust, to make her personality as part of our leadership core has been huge. But yeah, she's a key piece of what we're doing.
Any other questions? Great, thanks everyone.
All right, guys, thank you so much.
Coach.
Go Heels, thanks for showing up.